All right. Thank you, Tom. All right. 10:02. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to a special Monday brokerage meeting. We typically don't do them on a Monday. Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. Because we're all busy over the weekends. But since this week we have our Diamond Awards tomorrow, we have a special luncheon on Wednesday. And on Thursday, I'll be up in the Dallas Diamond Awards. This was the best day we could do it this week. So thank you all for being flexible. And thanks for joining me, obviously, on a Monday morning. So hope you all had a great weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. I was out for just a few hours and I actually got sunburned. So go figure, that it's just a thing. So there we go. Some special guests today as well. All right, we'll get that done. Got those good. Okay. March 3rd. We always start off with our little tech spotlight. Today we're gonna focus on some of the tools we have. Hopefully you guys will all hear this. Hope you guys enjoy the sirens in the background. Some of the stuff happened. A reminder as well, last month meeting we rolled out the new Smarty, which is our AI version of the chatbot. So in your upper right-hand corner of your Real Smart agent, as you log in, you can put in questions and it will answer many of them. And it's getting better as we train it and so forth. So good morning again. And I know last month we also rolled out our brand new join page for Homesmart. This is where you can send your friends, other agents that are thinking about Homesmart to find out more about it, more about our company. Of course, you can send them my way or send them to Ryan as well. But I wanted to kind of show you guys something real quick, like today. I'm going to go here. And I'm going to show you. Let's see here. That's not what I wanted. Hold on here. Doot, doot. Hold on. There it is. All right, I'm gonna share that one instead. It did it again. Never mind. Anyway, go to this link and you'll see the website. It's pretty cool. It's got videos in there from some of our other franchise owners, some of our market leaders. It's got all the great things about Homesmart. For some reason, it keeps on going to the PDF for me. I'm not sure why. So next one. And we have a special guest today, and I love this picture she sent over, Brittany. So Brittany Santiago Medina, is that correct? She's part of our Smart Partners team. She has a couple guests with us today, so she wanted to say hello. Hey, Brittany.
Thank you, Marty. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy March. Yep, that's me. I got Smartphone of the Month in January. I've heard many great things about our Houston market and just how awesome all of you agents are, so I'm really happy to be here. For those that don't know me, my name is Brittany Medina, and I am actually in Arizona. I am the affiliate coordinator here for Homesmart. Between Carol Perry, Bonnie Coy, and I, we handle the partnership programs. I won't take up too much of your time. I just quickly want to go over our local and our national partners. Our local Smart Partners work really hard to bring in all of that support and services to each and every one of you. So, Marty, if you want to.
Yep.
Thank you. So we have Muscular Moving Men in storage. I'm not too sure if they're on the line. Madeline, are you on? We'll give it a few seconds. Well, they are an independent moving company. So anywhere in the country, any long distance moves, they are here to help you out. We have great options for you when it comes to home warranty. We have American Home Shield, and your Houston rep is Shayna Crane. Shayna, are you on the line? Give it a few seconds. Okay, next slide. We also have HWA Home Warranty, and they are one of our newest smart partners. Tammy or Angela, are you on the line? Okay, next slide. All good.
All right.
And we also have Move Concierge, and Sydney is your account manager. I don't think she's on. Sydney, are you on? So Move Concierge can actually help you save up time and energy for your clients just by setting up all of those utilities and home services. Next slide. A huge shout out to our national partners for also bringing in that great support and those great services. And speaking of our national partners, Reminder Media is actually having a free webinar. You want to go on the next slide?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. They're having a free webinar on March 6th on how to transform your database into a revenue generating machine. If you haven't heard about Reminder Media, they are one of our newest national partners. They offer print or digital marketing products and just top client follow-up tools. You can also find more information about the webinar on the Homesmart calendar. Our directory for our smart partners and national partners are located in your website on the top right corner. I will stay on for a bit. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'll be on the lookout. I will also put our smart partners contact information in there. That way you have it just in case any questions come up in the future. That's it for me. It was pretty quick, but thank you for having me. Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome, Brittany. Thank you. And for all of our, we had the Reminder Media do a training on our January meeting. It was really good.
Awesome.
And I would say that our agents could learn a lot from their follow-up because they're pretty aggressive. So, and it's pretty good.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Brittany.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. I'll pin this out. All right, here we go. All right, so obviously we want to welcome every agent that chooses to make Homesmart home, like all of you, part of our big business family, if you will. So I'll give a shout out to Kevin, Oscar, Carolyn, Gregory, and Charles, who joined us just this month. So I guess February, if you will. So congratulations. Thank you guys for coming over and being part of our family. Next up. All right, Robert, are you on us with us today? I didn't see your RSVP. Anyway, just a shout out to Robert. Robert he runs our HSI commercial team, which is out of Georgia and Texas so far. So it's part of our option D for plans. And then Robert usually talks about that part. If you do a lot of commercial, you should talk to Robert. There's extra support there. There's obviously discounted rates to CoStar and LoopNet. And obviously there's a plan that caps out your transaction fees if you do a lot of commercial. So there we go. And we have a question. Oh, okay. Coming up. Okay. Lots of events coming up. Like I said, the reason we're doing this on a Monday is this week is packed full of events, and hopefully all of you will take part in at least one of these. The first one, of course, is tomorrow. We're having a branch lunch. I threw together a flyer. The reason this is fun, we buy lunch for you guys basically 2 or 3 times a year at the Galleria branch. Basically, we provide food. You come in, we network, we hang out together. Usually not much of an agenda. Tomorrow, since Katie Cooper's in town for our Diamond Award, she's our Chief Operating Officer. Kind of, if you want to bend the ear of Homesmart, she is like right next to the owner, Matt Widows, and makes the most of the decisions, if you will. So an opportunity to come have free lunch, come meet Katie, hang out with me. That would be tomorrow here at the Galleria. I sent out a link to register RSVP for it. I will send that out again after this meeting. So far, there's about 8 people signed up. So we want to get a lot more than that. Is lunch pescatarian friendly? We're going to get some, well, yes, you eat fish, right? And then you're mostly vegan after that. Is that what pescatarian means, if I'm correct? Then yes, we'll have meat products and non-meat products, if that makes sense. So, all right. But either way, come by and then meet Katie and talk to me and hang out. So it'll be fun. All right. Next up, of course, we have Diamond Awards tomorrow night for the 74 of our agents that qualified for Diamond Awards and their +1. We're going to have a great time, but also this is probably your last chance to RSVP tonight for Diamond Awards, which happens tomorrow night. It's happening at the Houston Aquarium from 6 to 9. We're going to have a lot of fun. We have a buffet meal, sit-down dinner, awards. We're going to celebrate the success of our Homesmart agents last year. And all of you. So congratulations. If you are a Diamond Award winner, congratulations to you. Obviously, we're almost done with the first quarter of 2025. So all of you that weren't can be this year. So we're looking forward to a great 2025. Obviously, those that don't know, basically, if you have gross commission income earned of more than $100,000, you qualify for a Diamond Award. And then, of course, each 100,000 qualifies for a higher Diamond Award. 2 Diamond, 3 Diamond, 4 Diamonds. Of course, over 500,000 in gross commission earned. That's all of your business for the calendar year will be 5 Diamond. And with that comes special logos and stuff that you can use in your marketing as a 1 Diamond, 2 Diamond, 3 Diamond, and so forth agent for the remainder of the following year that you've qualified for it. So it's great, but it shows your success. It also helps you market that you are a top agent for our company. Hopefully, again, congratulations to all of you. All right. Reminder meter, we just did that one. Reminder that obviously this on the 6th, which is coming up on Thursday, right? Thursday. Another chance to review reminder media. And then for those, obviously, we have a busy couple of weeks. This week, we have the Diamond Awards week. We have luncheons. We have some top agent luncheon as well. On March 12th, a week from Wednesday, is our next, basically, it's our CE Wednesday, even though this is a non-CE class. This is one we're providing education and training every single month to our agents. This is a full day class, so be prepared for this. I took this a couple months ago. I really enjoyed it. I walked away with 2 notebooks full of like notes and tips and stuff, and I've been doing this a whole long time. So I think it's worth your time. If you can just sign up for this, show up for this. We have a breakfast sponsor and we have a lunch sponsor. So you'll be fed well, and you'll have lots of great information next week, a week from Wednesday. All right, and I highlighted, of course, it's a 4-hour class. It's non-CE, but once again, I would highly recommend it for everybody. Many of you are asking me, how do you build your business? How do you contact your clients? How do you get leads? And this right here is a no-cost way of generating business for yourself for 2025. So if you are needing business, needing leads, show up to the class. All right. Obviously, the next 2 weeks from now, we have our Ninja installation. So once again, they sent out a notice recently about your last chance to sign up. I will be at this training for the first one to be installed. It's a Ninja. This is a system that helps you grow your business and treat it like a business. So this is an investment of $1,000, basically $999, and a trip to Scottsdale for the 4 days. And someone asked me earlier if they're going to teach to offer this again at some other time. They intend to, but they want to see how well this first class is received. People, the demand for it. If the demand for it is high enough, they'll have another one. But for now, this is the one that they have planned. And they're offering a special that in the second quarter coming up in here in April, May, and June, if you increase your production by 3 transactions, 3 more than you did last year, then they will credit you the $999 towards your account, which is kind of cool. So they're investing heavily in our agents. So anyway, I would recommend it if you can. And I think the last sales pitch, the last event that we know in the short term is our October Growth Summit. This is the first year we're having it in Scottsdale. This is the first year we're having it in October, and we're celebrating our 25th anniversary for the company. So it's an abbreviated Growth Summit at the headquarters in Scottsdale. They're offering a discount right now. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you all go, and we can have a great Houston team there as we explore headquarters, make our presence known, and they're great speakers, good content. We come back all jazzed and ready to finish the year off. Okay. All right. So last week, it was nice that most of the top 15 were able to join me for the fourth quarter top 15 lunch. As you all know, that every quarter we celebrate the previous quarter's success. So the agents that did the top 15 gross commission earned for that previous quarter. So, for 3 months, I buy them lunch. And this is a lot of fun. Don was able to join us this time. We went to Escalante's. And so this was for fourth quarter of last year. We're in the middle of the first quarter this year, so we'll have a top 15 lunch early in the second quarter of the year. So however you're doing it right now, you could be invited to lunch. It's a lot of fun. Okay. That was me. I need to get an updated headshot. A couple of things that we've seen a lot on our broker review. Don's got a couple of things I want to share, and I have a couple of things, but this is one that is pretty consistent for a lot of our agents. Now, most of you know better than this. But when in our 1 to 4 contract or any of our purchase contracts, we deal with option money and earnest money. And there's a lot of confusion around delivery of that. And what we're seeing recently, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is a lot of buyers at the direction of their agent fail to deposit earnest money and option money, either at all or late. Now, there are repercussions to doing both of those. And we have the duty at the elevated level of an attorney, a fiduciary duty to our clients, to put their interests above our own. We've got agents that have told clients not to deposit because they're terminating it anyway. Now, that is incorrect, and that's malpractice from your license. You could lose your license for doing things like that. So I want to make this very serious, and it could be a problem with TREC for us as well. I say this so the document's very clear. Earnest money, first of all, is that amount of money, the consideration for the contract making it valid. Earnest money is what's held by title. Earnest money in the contract has to be delivered to the title company within 3 days. It's spelled there in 5A, right? 3 days after the effective date. There's language there that if the 3 days falls on a weekend or a holiday, goes to the next business day. But it's 3 calendar days unless it falls on a weekend. It goes to the next business day. This is your deadline. If you don't deposit earnest money on time, the buyer is now in breach of contract. Okay? Now, breach can be cured, okay? But that immediately gives the seller the right to terminate because the earnest money has not been delivered on time. That period of time between when it was supposed to be delivered and when it actually gets delivered, that gives the seller a time period to terminate. And with that, they can keep earnest money, or they can pursue performance, or they can pursue damages to the buyer and get attorney's fees. It is a big deal for non-deposit of earnest money. Gives the seller legal rights. Now, we also know that if the seller doesn't exercise those rights and the buyer does deposit earnest money even late, they cure that breach, removing the seller's right to terminate at that point in time. Okay, there's a couple of things as agents. Buyer's agents, if you know the earnest money is going to be late, communicate to the agent to see if you can get an extension on the due date. Listing agents, if you know and you've checked with title and earnest money has not been delivered, you have a duty to notify your seller they have a right to terminate at that point in time. Okay, these are all things that every state agency, TREC included, they check our files. When did we get earnest money? When was it due? And when was it delivered? And if it wasn't delivered on time, was constructive notice given to the parties that we represent? Okay, there's a duty on our sake to make sure it gets delivered on time. And if it doesn't, that the seller knows that they have a right to act. And the buyer needs to know that if they don't deposit it, they are in breach of contract and the seller has legal remedies against them. Okay, big deals. On the option period, we're seeing a lot of people say, well, I'm going to terminate anyway. I want to deposit it. You don't have the unrestricted right to terminate unless you deposit the option money. So if you don't deposit it, you've removed that option for the client to terminate that way. The reason it's called the unrestricted right to terminate is it's the only one where you don't have to give a reason during that time period. But it only applies if the option money was delivered on time. If option money is not delivered or is delivered late, you don't have an unrestricted right to terminate, period. Now you have restricted rights to terminate, like financing or title or a seller disclosure that you have to be aware of, and maybe your secondary, but those all have restrictions to them that you have to prove something before you can terminate the contract and protect the buyer's earnest money. So just a reminder to all of you, two different things, option money and earnest money. Earnest money can be cured, but there are remedies for the seller to pursue. Option money cannot be cured, but it's the only thing that gives the buyer the right, the unrestricted right to terminate. And you have to let the buyer know, and the listing agent has to let the seller know, if that option money is delivered late, that buyer no longer has that unrestricted right to terminate, period. And they need to know that. So our duty is to advise our clients properly, obviously recommend an attorney, but we do not ever give our clients advice not to deposit earnest money or option money. We do not give them advice that it's okay because you're going to terminate anyway. We do not give them advice because we're not attorneys. Now, kid, talk about losing your license quickly. Don't do that. So this is your broker, your friend, telling you don't do this. Obviously, if you do, I'm sure most of you don't, but we've seen over a handful probably in the last week. And so just don't do this. All right. So common errors, obviously, this is one I want to bring up here. This is a repeat of what I just said. Earnest money, option money delivered late. Buyers in breach of contract for late delivery of earnest money can be cured if buyer waives the unrestricted right if they don't deposit option money on time. And of course, never delivered, there are options for the seller. So this is something to be aware of. I'll put this out for everybody to have too, so you have a cheat sheet. Okay, and as a reminder, all of you, we have a duty from TREC for audit purposes and from a company policy that you have to have your executed contract into RealSmart Agent within 5 days. That means a signed buyer tenant rep agreement, a signed lease, a signed listed agreement, a signed purchase agreement. We still see a lot of listings that go in the MLS that we have no documents for. And then when TREC calls or a complaint calls from another agent and we don't have it, not only do we look bad, we're out of compliance with TREC, and so are you. So reminder, get them in. And second reminder is check your emails, including your spam, for transaction notices, notice from corporate, notices from me, your broker. We're responsible for delivering it to you in the medium that we've agreed to, which is the email. You as agents, whether you read them or not, are responsible for the information. And we've seen a lot of, I didn't get an email, well, maybe in spam or whatever. You have to look. It's not our responsibility to make sure that you've seen it. You've got to actually open your email. Okay. And a reminder for all of you that all of the things, like even this meeting is recorded. We place it in YouTube, which is a link to our RSA education videos right here on demand. So you can watch them 24/7. All our Friday fundamentals, all of our special recorded classes are here for corporate and local. And last month, we talked about, and a couple weeks ago too, I sent out an email and I did a training 2 Fridays ago, I think it was, or at least a Friday ago, on the new IABS. So we had the changes to the delegated authority. And then like a week later, TREC rolled out a brand new IABS with just the language around compensation is negotiable for everybody. So we're rolling forward that we're doing the delegated authority and the use of the new IABS, what TREC says, by April 1st. So we have basically less than 30 days to get compliance for all of this going forward. So for those, it's a brand new one, should be dated on the upper right-hand corner on February 10th when it rolled out, required by April 1st at the latest, sooner the better. And with that, with the delegated authority, anybody that's a team leader, a mentor, or in Don's case, assistant broker, has been delegated as assistant broker. So currently, your IABS looks like this. It has Homesmart, has my name in 2 places, has both the designated broker and licensed supervisor. Then you'd have your name and your information. What is changing to, for most people, is this. Basically, you have Homesmart's license. You have my name as the designated broker. And for the licensed supervisor, you'd have Don. So make sure you have this. It's in the download section of RSA already, so you can access that, add your information to it, make sure it's accurate. If you are a team leader or a team member of a team, talk to your team leader about getting an update and putting their name where Don's name is. And if you are a mentee, talk to your mentor as well about getting their mentor's name there for the period of time that you are being mentored by them. Okay. So assistant broker, team leaders, mentors, basically, and then those team leaders and mentors that I've delegated to supervise these agents through Trek will be required to take a broker responsibility course at their next renewal. So that's one of those things on you guys. So make sure that you all heard that. And here's a team leader. I use Tracy, part of the Bay Area group. You'd have the Homesmart, my name, and then the team leader's name while you're part of that team. All right. Don Leonard, our assistant broker, has been doing a bang-up job since he's been here. And we're so grateful for Don. I am so grateful. And he's got some updates as well.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And thanks for taking a part of your Monday morning to tune into all of this. You saw all the stuff we had going on this week, and a lot of stuff going on this month. And Marty going over section 5 of the contract. Every time I see that section, I think it's kind of like an obstacle course, that there's so much that we have to pay attention to, so much that we have to go over. And so I've got a couple of things to go over also. I've been seeing a lot of stuff in compliance as we're going through contracts. So we thought that maybe, even though some of this has been gone over before, we thought, well, we'll go over it again, just so you can see exactly how things should look in some of the documents that we work with. Do I have the ability to move the? You
do. You're co-host. Go ahead. Yep.
How do I do that?
Should be able to click your mouse up there on the arrow. Do you see it?
No.
I'll do it for you. We're good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So yeah, first of all, we want to talk about the mentoring program. So it's been going through some changes and some updates and upgrades here over the last little bit. And so for those of you who, whether you're brand new or maybe you've been out of the business for a while, and it's one of the things that we're seeing, and we talked about this last week, Marty and I, the fact that some people decided to get out maybe during COVID or some of those things that were going on. And now that things are maybe starting to turn around, start looking a little bit better, some of them are starting to come back in. So whether you're new to the business or returning to the business, the mentoring program may be something that you might want to consider. And just like I said, it's a terrific opportunity for new and returning agents to become proficient in the ways of real estate, not just out there in the real world, but also the things that we need to do here in Homesmart, the programs and the platforms, all the different things that you need to do. Documents have changed so much. If you've been out of it for a year, the documents are different. Listing agreements are different, buyer reps are different, sales contracts are different, everything is different. So it's if even a year, even if you've been out of it a year, everything is almost brand new. So of course, the mentoring program, you get assigned to a mentor, and we're very specific and very particular about who the mentors are. These are people who have demonstrated the ability to work at a high level and for a period of time. And like it says, it's not really just the number of transactions that they've done. It's also, do they embody that mentor mentality? Because not everybody can teach. A lot of people can do really well, but to be able to take that information and pass it on to individuals in a way that they can understand and learn and grow from it, not everybody can do that. It really takes a special person who has that ability to do both. And so that's who you would be paired with. You'd be paired with an individual who has that kind of ability. And like it says, that it'll help you with the platforms and the programs, contracts, forms. It really is, it's a 6-session program. And you probably need to budget, I'm going to say probably at a bare minimum 1 hour, probably more than an hour, probably hour and 15 minutes to maybe an hour and a half with your mentor in each one of these sessions, just to go over. And there are plenty of things for you to be doing on your own too. And that's kind of for a lot of us are visual learners, that we see things and so we pick it up that way. But what really reinforces that is doing it. And so there will be plenty of exercises where you will actually be doing contracts. You'll actually be doing listing agreements and buyer reps and things like that. And like it says, one of the best things about this is there's no upfront cost to it. This is a program where your first 3 transactions will pay for the program. You're not all of your commission, obviously, but a portion of your first 3 transactions will do that. And the Real Estate Commission recently has said that you really, if you are doing real estate in a type of property that you're not familiar with and you've never done a transaction before, you need that mentoring in your first 3 anyway. So if you have an interest in this, you can get in contact with me. You see my email there, dleonard@hsmove.com, and we can talk more about it, talk about whether or not it may be something that would work for you, and be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, we can move on. All right, so here's where we're seeing some issues. And of course, everybody's concerned about compensation. I think I have taken probably 5 calls this morning, all centered around compensation, making sure that we get it in the right place. So compensation errors here. This is one of the changes, the primary change really, that took place in the new contract, where you see these are the seller's settlement charges. And they're really broken out into 3 different ones: A, B, and C. So A, of course, are their typical closing costs that they would pay on their own, their closing costs. B has to do with if the seller is paying the buyer's agent directly. So, of course, you know, as a buyer's agent, we can get paid a couple of different ways. We could get paid from the listing brokerage, or we could get paid by the seller directly. Now, it's really always been this way. It's just that it kind of fell into being paid to the listing broker pays selling broker, and that's the way it used to always work. Well, this is what that lawsuit was all about, or these lawsuits that we've been going through are all about, is that the seller really was kind of left behind. They really didn't have the opportunity to negotiate. And so it has been broken out now to where compensation may still come the traditional way, where the seller pays the listing broker shares a portion of that with us. If they do, then you're not going to put anything in section 12 here. You're going to use the TXR 2402, which is a compensation agreement between brokers. And then you'll also list it on page 10, just like we always have. If the brokerage is not going to be paying us, which is very common now in companies like Redfin, EXP. Somebody mentioned to me the other day that Better Homes and Gardens, Gary Green, was going to this. Have you heard that, Marty?
Yep, I heard. Yep.
So if that's true, we see these large brokerages where they will no longer pay a buyer's agent. It's got to come directly from the seller. And so if the seller is paying us, if we're the buyer's agent, paying us directly, that amount is going to be listed in B. 12A1B is for one thing and one thing only: compensation, us getting paid if we are the buyer's agent directly from the seller. C separates concessions to the buyer. So 12A1C would be where the seller not only maybe is going to pay us directly, but is also going to pay a certain amount in concessions and closing costs or whatever on behalf of that buyer. So it's all separated out now. B has to do with paying us. C has to do with concessions to the buyer. And then below that, this is the section out of page 10. Page 10, if it's the 1 to 4 family contract, it's that section about halfway down the page where if we are being paid by the listing company, you would put that information there. This is a one or the other, most likely. The only way that it would be both is if we were being paid partly by the listing brokerage and partly by the seller themselves. That's going to be pretty rare, I think. I don't think we're going to run into that very often. So in most instances, you can think of this as an either or. But what you see down there at the bottom under where it says disclosure, that's page 10. That should be accompanied by a TXR 2402. So.
Yep. Once again, either or. It's either the 2402 and page 10, or it's paragraph 12 and nothing else. So yeah, we're good.
Hey, Don, say that one more time, the last part.
So the last part about if you're being paid directly, it's an either or. You shouldn't, under really very, very rare circumstances, would both of those things be filled in. The only way that both would be filled in is if we're being paid partly by the listing brokerage and the seller is picking up the rest. Like, let's say our buyer representation agreement said 3% and the brokerage is paying us 2%. We still want our 3%. And so the seller agrees to pick up that other 1%. That would be the only place really where you would see that. I think that's going to be extremely rare. I think in a lot of cases, the buyer's agent probably would just forego the rest of that. So it's either typically going to be an either or. If the seller is paying us direct, if we're the buyer's agent, use section 12. If the listing brokerage is paying us, then fill in that page 10 where it talks about disclosure, and it has to be accompanied by a TXR 2402. That do it?
Yes.
Good. Oh, again, page 10 is non-binding. That's where the 2402 comes in. 2402 is the contract and the agreement. Page 10 is a disclosure. And then on that note, too, we're still seeing buyer's agents put 0 in the buyer-tenant rep agreement. The amount you put in the buyer-tenant rep agreement, it limits what you can receive from any party. So if you put 0, you can't get anything from anybody else. You're making 0. So don't do that. Put the amount you expect to make from all parties. So that's another reminder. Don?
One other thing too. I'm sorry. Can we
Sure,
get back in a second? One other thing that I have run into a couple of times that we want to make sure of is that when you look at 10, it says this disclosure is for informational purposes and does not change the previous agreement between the brokers to pay or share a commission. So what happens here, sometimes I've had a couple of them come in where they did put something in both, and the agent argued that, well, since this is informational only and it's not binding, it really doesn't matter if it's there. Yes, it does. It matters if it's there because compliance doesn't know which one is correct. Compliance doesn't know, should we also be looking for a TXR 2402, or should we be saying that what's in 12 is correct? And so, you know, it makes it confusing for compliance. Yes, of course, you know what it's supposed to be. And yes, maybe it doesn't override what's in section 12. But if compliance doesn't know, they're going to call it. They're going to call it and say, hey, we don't know what the next step is. Should we be looking for a 2402, or does this really not apply? You know, there's no place to put in there, hey, we're just kidding. You know, it's going to raise some questions. So anyway, one or the
also,
other.
in some cases, title may see that you're getting double dipped. You paid from 2 different sources. So
that's true too. Somebody may take advantage of that. Yeah,
Mhm.
Somebody might take advantage of that.
Okay.
Very true.
Next up, Don.
Here's another either or. So this is the listing agreement, section 5 of the listing agreement. And I see a lot of mistakes on this one. I never in a million years ever figured that it could be interpreted so many different ways, and so many of them wrong. So it's either A or B, and it doesn't show it here. But if you look right above A, where A is in that box there, if you look at the line right above A, it says fill in either 5A or 5B, not both. But we're seeing a bunch of them where we're filling in both. So let's look at A. A is going to be used if the listing side is collecting enough from the seller to not just pay the listing side, but to also share some with the buyer side. That's what A is designed for. The old, typical, traditional way of us getting paid. In 5A1, you're going to put in the total. What goes in 1 is the total amount that the seller is going to pay in commission, including both sides, the total. So make sure in 1, it's going to be the total. In 2, it's going to say how much of that total that we saw in 1 is going to be shared with the buyer side. And so 1 should be greater than or equal to, in some weird instances, maybe, whatever's in number 2. In no way should what's in number 2 exceed what's in number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So in number 1 is total. How much is the seller paying altogether? Let's say 6%. Our old typical traditional, what we see a lot, 6%. So 5A, 1A, 6% of the sales price. Now I'm going to keep 3 and I'm going to share 3 with the buyer side. So in 5A, 2A, I would put in 3.
Mhm.
So total goes in 1. How much is going to be shared with the buyer side goes in 2. And we've also had some questions regarding what if I'm working with a buyer who's unrepresented or something like that. Well, do I get to keep it all? Well, if you look at section 4, yeah, it's what it says. Broker will retain the amount specified in 5A1. So what's in 5A1? The total. So they will retain that amount if there's no other broker that procures the buyer, including but not limited to transactions where the broker represents both the buyer and the seller, which of course is intermediary,
Mhm.
or buyer is unrepresented. So in either of those cases, whatever you've put in 5A1, that's yours.
Mhm.
That belongs to you.
Hey, Don, on this note too, for everybody here, when as a listing broker and you fill out A and you choose A, the traditional way, if you will, with the total amount, with a subsection amount to a buyer broker, think TXR 2402. So you're going to need that when the buyer writes an offer, a buyer's agent, they're going to need a 2402 with you because that's the way commission's being handled. And you're also going to be thinking that it will not be in paragraph 12 when you receive an offer because it's going to be on page 10. So be thinking on the listing side to help out the transaction as well. Go ahead, Don.
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And so B, when do we use B? If the seller is only paying enough to pay the listing side. So it can't be both. They're either paying enough to share or they're not. So there's no way it can be both. So B is used if they're just paying us. If the seller says, look, you're going to be representing me. I don't mind paying you, but why should I pay the other side? And of course, that's another story and another argument, another conversation. But if that's the way they look at it, if that's the way the seller thinks it should be, I'm not going to pay some other agent to help somebody negotiate against me. I mean, that's the logic here. And so I'm only going to pay you. You're representing me. I'm going to pay you. That goes in B. So it's an either or. There's no possible way it can be both.
Right. And I know people see this as well. And now B, if you are a listing broker and you fill out B, you know that your compensation is paid by the seller, but the compensation to any potential buyer broker is paid in the contract only. So be thinking paragraph 12. This is one of those things too. When you receive an offer, you should not receive a 2402 and you should not put it in page 10. It goes both sides. So you're communicating to a buyer broker that there's no compensation being offered through the listing agreement, that anything they want will have to be negotiated through the contract. So we work together as a team, in many cases like this, communicating how is your listing agreement set up. It's either A or it's B, not both. And we're seeing a lot of those both. So Winston, you had a question, buddy?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. If you can please go back to the other, that's correct, that one. Because I'm working right now on this one. I'm representing the seller and I'm working on this one, but I actually downloaded the form that is right now in, their disposal available. And there isn't any disclosure, down there, like says there, disclosure pursuant to a previous blah, blah, blah. That is not in the form.
10. That's on page 10.
Yeah, the paragraph in page 10 is the disclosure that you have a 2402 signed.
There you go. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. Thanks. Sorry about
You're
that.
All right. Don?
All right. So, yeah. So Marty created a slide called Don's Nugget of Wisdom, and he knows that's really about all I've got. So, And so here it is. Don't leave a contract blank. We see so many blanks that are left in contracts. And of course, whoever's filling it out understands that probably means 0 if it's a number, or probably means it doesn't apply if it's a provision. But think of that blank as a question. It's a question that needs to be answered. And so, if it's 0, if it doesn't apply, all those things. But whoever's looking at it, remember that there's so many different people who are looking at this contract that it has to be made exceedingly clear to everybody who looks at it. Not everybody has the same level of understanding that you do. And so if you leave a blank, it can mean a lot of different things. And so like it says that if you leave it blank with nothing in it, it doesn't actually automatically mean 0 or NA. What it creates is an ambiguous provision. We don't really know why that blank was left blank. The person who's filling out the contract does, but whoever else is looking at it doesn't. They don't know why that blank was left blank. It could mean that it was a question that was missed, or it could simply mean a question that wasn't asked. And like it says, that potential that a question wasn't asked could lead to problems. Since if it is a blank in the contract, it is considered an important question. Someday when we have time, I'll tell you a story about a transaction that we had that ended up costing an agent about $850 because they didn't ask a question that was in the listing agreement. One of the questions that I see not asked a lot, or the blank that is left blank, it's in section 12. Section 12, there are 2 blanks in section 12 that asks questions, and they're kind of awkward. They're kind of where the agent might not want to ask, because it asks about liens. Do you owe anybody? Do you have any liens on your property other than mortgage? Well, a lot of times maybe the agent feels like that they know the seller so well that they know there's no way that they have other liens on their property, so they don't feel like they need to ask. Or sometimes they feel like, well, that's kind of embarrassing. I don't think I want to ask them. I don't want to put them on the spot. It's kind of awkward for me to ask. And so they just let it go. They just bypass it and they let it go, because it's pretty far along in the listing agreement. We're getting pretty close to the end. And so a lot of times those questions don't get asked. Ask them. I don't care who they are. I don't care how well you know them. I don't care whether or not you feel like this is embarrassing. Ask it. Because it could potentially put it could put the company in a situation where, because the question wasn't asked and the property ended up not being able to be sold because there were liens on that property, we could end up being held liable. Seller could end up being held liable for all the charges that the buyer had paid to try to purchase that property. That's the story. And so you need to ask those questions. Ask them all. Ask them all. If it doesn't apply, NA. NA, none, 0, that's fine. That's an answer. Leaving it blank is not an answer.
This is so good. And having been a broker before for multiple companies over multiple states, Washington, Idaho, Alabama, Texas as well, I've seen multiple lawsuits won by a buyer or seller because something was missed. Now, it may not be material to the contract, but what happens in many of these things, they could be determined unenforceable, and they hold the agent accountable for it, because the agent should know better. They're helping the buyer or the seller prepare documents. So it's just one of those things. It's not trying to scare you. It's like, these are real world things where we overlook them, but we have a fiduciary duty to make sure that we answer these questions, to Don's point, because there's very real legal consequences, licensing and legal, that can come out of these things when we don't. Don?
It can be considered negligence.
Yeah, exactly. Jeanette, you had a question?
Yes, I did. All these issues at night, you can see that they could become issues. We're on a time frame usually with the option period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once we submit, let's say it takes a couple of days for everything to get processed. It's in there. We submit it to the broker for broker review.
Mm-hmm.
How many days, how many hours should we receive, confirmation that everything's okay? Because sometimes in that respect, you get it in like third or fourth day and they're requiring 48 hours,
Mm-hmm.
to review it. So, if you're really busy.
The biggest rule there is just that you must get it into the system within 5 days. And then the processing time is not counted. We'll get that back to you as soon as we can. Obviously, we're trying to do it in two days or less, but that doesn't count against TREC. It's just the broker has to have it. So,
I'm concerned about not the broker review time. I know they'll get to it when they,
Yep.
when they're able to. It's a matter of what happens if I fill out something incorrectly
Right.
and the option period is over and I can't change it. That was more of my issue.
Yeah.
It's
Revisions
like, and I know you don't want to see incomplete, no signatures paperwork. That's stupid,
Right.
So is there
Yeah.
some kind of way, to circumvent that issue, that ever happening? Because, like I said, you could come back and say, well, you fill this out wrong. And it's consequential, that what I fill out is not correct.
And then you have a timely response to that when we let you know, hey, Jeanette, let's fix. Get it back to us as soon as you can.
Y'all two will not like me then. I will be hounding you day and night.
Amen. I love it. All right. Don, thank you so much, man. That was really helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. All right. And as Elena said, we'll post this as well so people can see Don's explanation of the mentorship program and very good explanation of paragraph 12. We went over it several times, but it's really good. Thad, you have a question real quick?
Yes, sir. It's Marty. Don, thanks for that little nugget. So I think that was extremely helpful. I don't want to put you on the spot, Marty, but I think you're the broker, so I'm going to put you on the spot nonetheless.
Right.
So you mentioned earlier on about the fact that, some larger brokerages are starting to go to the format whereby they just prefer just to let the seller just kind of negotiate and just put that amount in 12 1C. One is it 1C, 1B. I don't have that document in front of me, but exactly in your line. So philosophically, I mean, just 30,000 feet. What do you think one way or the other? I mean, is this something I can see both sides in terms of, why bigger brokerage probably doesn't, but in terms of Homesmart, what do you think?
Yeah, Homesmart hasn't made a decision yet. I haven't made a decision yet as far as what we're going to require. I do see momentum going in the direction of having just the listing agreement pay the listing broker. The crux of most of the lawsuits was the commission sharing, and no matter how you look at it, it's still the seller is paying one broker and they're sharing that with another broker the one way. So I would foresee this in the near future that our listing agreements, including our disclosures, will be to the listing broker, and then where the TXR 1412 says that the seller is willing to contribute up to so much amount won't be in a contract. It would be like the buyer's agent needs to know that, and they need to put it in a contract. So I really do believe that's where we're going. We're not requiring one way or another in the listings yet. Because we want to give the agents and the sellers a chance to make a decision. But I do believe that's where it's going to go. So, John.
Thank you.
Oop. All right.
I think he may have fell off. I think he was just putting his camera on. I think he may have hit the wrong button and disconnected.
I hate when that happens. All right. Well, celebrate our agents, and then when John comes back and asks a question. Obviously, in February, the shortest month, obviously, our teams are killing it. So our top 3 teams in February was the Young Real Estate Group, followed by the Royal Elite Realty Group, followed by the Global Nest Group. So give them a round of applause. Nice job, teams. Okay, John, you're back. You got a question? You have to unmute yourself, buddy. Or not. Oh. It's okay. I can't unmute you for you, so you're good. Yeah, but you can put it in chat too. So here we go. All right. Top teams in the number of sales volume. Again, that's the Young Real Estate Group, followed by the Global Nest Group, followed by Royal Elite Realty Group. So nice job, everybody, on the teams for February. Our top agents for the month of February in the number of units: Lizette Labarca, Yves Youngwith, Ramiz Prasla, Leonard Williams, Douglas Rodriguez, Amir Salihan, Danny Faraya, Ali Akbar, and Jessica. Nice job. Top 10 in February. Getting out the gates fast and hard. These are number of units sold. And then the sales volume for agents as well. Carolina Perez leads the way, followed by Ramiz Prasla, Maria Galvez, Yves Youngwith, Saeed, Rizvi, Lizette, Brian, Sajidi, Ali, and Jessica. Nice job, everybody, in your production in February. Obviously, we're in March, but congratulations to each and every one of you. What do we have here? In contract, Barra says training, review, integrate online video tools. Yep. I'll put in my offer instructions. The buyer agent compensation is negotiable. Good. That's good. Okay. All right. Next month, we're back on our normal time, the first Thursday of every month. That'll be on April 3rd. I will send out the links after this meeting for tomorrow's Galleria branch lunch with Katie Cooper. I will also send out links for those that there's a luncheon on Wednesday. I'm going to send those out for you as well. We've got like this Friday, we've got a training. Don's leading the Friday fundamentals training. I think he's going over contracts. Don, what are you covering on Friday?
Listing agreement.
Listing agreements. Okay. So
We'll
Friday
go back
at
over
10 o'clock.
5A again.
Good. Thanks, Don. And now, okay, John, can you unmute yourself yet? Nope. That's all right. You can give me a call as well. Thank you all for joining us for our brokerage meeting. This is recorded. This will be put up on RSA. Thanks, Don, for the helpful input. And thanks for the questions as well. And we'll hopefully see you all tomorrow at the branch lunch.
Marty Catherine has a question. Marty Catherine has a question.
Marty. Hey, remember, I wanted to ask you if you're recognizing whenever you have a team, if the individuals are recognized as individuals or only the team leader gets the recognition for the team.
Both. But when we celebrate teams, we celebrate the team totals during each monthly thing. The awards are you have team awards and you have individual awards. So each individual is recognized based on their GCI and units and volume, but then the teams are recognized separately as well. So you get
okay. My reason for asking is because the reporting part, which I did include Aaron on Campbell, I think it was Aaron, is not showing that.
Yes. Yeah, I get it. I
so
know
it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Lowell, I know that Lizette had that same question, Catherine, working on it. Lowell, you got a question?
Okay. Me next.
Okay, thank you, Lowell. And Amanda, thank you. Good. All right.
Marty.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I was trying to find out, because I think I RSVP for myself for the thing tomorrow. But then I have my family members that they want to come. So how do I get to do
for
that?
the branch lunch?
No, for the award ceremony.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You can email, or I'll send you an email, but it's events@hsmove.com, and they can get you signed up for your family member.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
All right.
How are you?
Oh, Marty or Dunn, I have a question, whoever.
Sure, jump in.
Okay, so I'm new. I had my first transaction, which I did a good job with putting in the listing, but when it came down to